Justice Holmes said, "The life of the law has not been logic, it's been experience, the felt necessities of the time, the felt moral and political theories." If he's correct, maybe that explains so much of the give and take throughout American history over what is right and wrong about our laws and their application, a thing we call justice. The law. Learn about it from people who practice it and apply it. This program is about law through the eyes and work of lawyers and judges in our community and its impact on our citizens. We hope you'll find the discussions and information here useful, thought-provoking, and even entertaining. I'm Terry Miller, and this is Law Talk. My guest today is Jeff Kimsey. Jeff's a member of the Dalton and Chatsworth Bar, the Conasauga Bar Association. He's a partner in the law firm of Mitchell Mitchell. So I have had the pleasure over many years of practicing law with Jeff. Jeff's a graduate in 1991 of the Walter F. George School of Law at Mercer University. He came to this area from Fayetteville, Georgia, after completing law school to serve as a clerk to the Superior Court judges of the Conasauga Circuit. After that, he practiced law not only with this firm, but with the law firm of Kinney and Kemp here in Dalton. Jeff's married to Holly. They have 2 daughters and 2 grandchildren. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you.
I know that you concentrate your practice today in the area of motor vehicle, motor carrier liability, premises liability, serious injury, wrongful death. I guess most people watching would like to know, they're in a motor vehicle accident. There may have been some medical expense, they have some property damage. When should they, or should they, contact an attorney?
Generally, I advise people to always contact an attorney after being in a motor vehicle collision because you do need legal advice on how to protect your rights, even if it's just a minor motor vehicle collision. Generally, there are going to be questions from the insurance carrier, and it's a good idea to contact an attorney.
With regard to major injuries, there are times, are there not, when people aren't initially aware of how significant and impacted by trauma and collision someone in the wreck will be?
Yes, that's correct. A lot of times what we see is that someone is in a collision and the adrenaline is flowing, the excitement, nervousness, and a lot of people report that they feel okay immediately after the collision, but then a day or 2 later is when they actually start feeling the symptoms that can arise from a collision.
Now, I know that there are times that people wonder, I've been in a collision, I have a call from the claim adjuster for the insurer. Are there any do's and don'ts for folks that think, well, there may be a significant injury here or a significant claim? Should I do certain things or not? What would your advice be?
Yeah, generally it's a good idea not to talk with the insurance carrier that's representing the at-fault party, the party that has caused the collision. It's best to have any conversation with the insurance carrier through an attorney because a lot of people may give information to the insurance carrier that is not necessarily correct. And so it's a good idea to be guided by an attorney.
From time to time, people have questions about automobile liability insurance coverages. There's not only the policy, the liability policy for the at-fault driver, but sometimes there are coverages for the non-at-fault vehicle or party that may be important. Can you give folks some suggestions or guidelines about that?
Yeah, the average layperson in the community is surprised to learn that a lot of times there will be several family members that all live together in a single household. And when that is the situation, it's appropriate to do what's called stacking the insurance coverage. You can actually combine the policies and recover a maximum amount of compensation.
So particularly Georgia and each state may be different in terms of uninsured motorist coverage, but a non-at-fault driver's own coverage is a significant factor that you take into account whenever you're determining what coverages are available to provide payment for injuries and property damage.
That's correct. The first thing that we do is not only determine what all the insurance coverage is for the person that's at fault, but we also determine what insurance is available for the people who have been hurt, so that we can combine policies and increase the coverage.
Matters that involve automobile liability, motor carrier liability that you see over the years and handle, do most of these end up trying out in the courtrooms in Dalton or Chatsworth?
No, generally 99% of claims are going to resolve by settlement. It's very, very rare to have one that actually goes to a trial. The great majority are going to settle.
I'm sure people are interested in knowing that many times when proper communication is made between adjusters, possibly defense attorneys, claimant attorneys, and the claimants with medical liability information, that information resolves the claim.
That's correct. Usually, once all the information is out on the table, then at that point the insurance company is in a position where they're going to make an offer of settlement, and as long as it's fair, then we generally advise the client at that time as to their rights.
We'll be back after this word.
You work hard to make a better life for you and your family, so it's important for you to consider your estate planning needs. We at Mitchell & Mitchell approach retirement and estate planning as a lifelong process. It is essential that you have the proper advice and legal documents to protect your family's growing savings. As your children grow and your life circumstances change, it is important to review and revise your retirement or estate plan. Whether you're just starting out or well along your career path, we at Mitchell & Mitchell are here to guide you through this important process. Contact us today for a consultation.
Jeff, we're back, and I want to ask you about that case that unfortunately and tragically over the years we have seen, and you have seen them, where there has been a death or a serious permanent bodily injury. Sort of take our viewers through how much detail those involved from your standpoint, competent attorneying here in looking after folks' interest.
Generally, if a tragedy like that does occur, then if a family comes to us for guidance, then what we usually do is, in the process of investigating the collision, we work very closely with, generally it's the Georgia State Patrol, who has what's called a SCIRT investigation team, and that's a collision reconstruction team. And the Georgia State Patrol generally heads up that investigation so that any type of traffic fatality can be prosecuted if necessary. But typically we will wind up working with the State Patrol very closely in bringing a civil claim on behalf of the family.
Now, I know that involves the issues of fault, liability, possibly speed, operations of vehicles, whether there's some impairment on the part of the at-fault driver. With regard to evaluations of the recovery, what types of things do you consider or go into that process when you advise victims and families?
Well, generally, you look at the person's economic background, their hobbies, activities, just basically how they enjoyed their life in putting together a plan so that you can present that in a case if it does come to that.
I know over the years we've seen tragedies where alcohol, drug impairment was involved on the part of the at-fault driver. Today we're seeing more and more collisions involving distraction by cell phone or other in-vehicle device. What can you tell folks about that in terms of the likelihood of a collision when you're using a cell phone?
Yeah, there have been several studies that have shown that using a cell phone while you're driving actually impairs you to the extent that you are under the influence of either drugs or alcohol. And so we see in almost every collision there's some type of cell phone use. It's not illegal to talk on a cell phone in Georgia and operate a car. It is illegal to text, though. And so that's where you see a lot of collisions.
So
occurring.
that fact finding comes into play sometimes.
Absolutely.
And of course in situations where you have impaired drivers that have caused collisions, you have not only the issue of what is proper compensation, but the state even allows for the recovery of punitive damages if it's appropriate. Explain what punitive damages are, why they're awarded, and how you go about asserting those in a claim.
Yeah, compensatory damages is compensation for actual bodily injury. Punitive damages is compensation to punish or deter a person from acting in the situation that has caused the collision. For example, if someone has been drinking alcohol and they've caused a collision and have injured some people, then punitive damages are a great likelihood to deter that individual from drinking and driving and injuring people.
I know a number of the clients that our firm sees from time to time that have been injured in motor vehicle collisions, premises liability or even products liability matters, have their own health coverage or their Medicare beneficiaries or Medicaid beneficiaries, and those payors or insurers have paid some of their, or sometimes substantial portions of their medical expense. Now, at the end of the day, are those entities, insurers, Medicare, Medicaid reimbursed, and what work do you do in terms of representing folks with regard to tying those matters up at the conclusion?
Yeah, and that is a very important part of any claim, is making certain that our clients are protected when they've had health insurers or Medicare pay a lot of their medical expense. We make certain that those monies get paid back appropriately so that the client does not get a surprise on down the road that a private health insurer is asking for money to be paid back, or Medicare is even asking for money to be paid back.
In fact, with regard to federal Medicare, Georgia Medicaid, and certain federal, what they call ERISA health plans, in certain instances, those funds must be paid back. Those can be enforced whether or not you're made whole from your injury or not. Is that the law?
That's correct. Generally, if it's ERISA, which is a federal program, then you are required to pay back any money that plan has paid toward your medical expense, even if you're not getting fully compensated.
So you have to communicate with those folks.
That's correct.
Jeff, by and large, are juries fair to people when cases do have to go to trial?
Yes. Juries in North Georgia are very good at understanding the issues and applying the facts to the law for a very fair outcome.
Good to know. Thank you for watching Law Talk right here on Charter Media.